It is time to connect to Congress. It is a segment where we invite Washington lawmakers, those who represent us here in the central San Joaquin Valley, to join us to talk about what's going on. And right now we're checking with Democratic Representative for the state's 21st Congressional District, Jim Costa, live with us from Washington, D.C. Good morning, Congressman Costa. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. It's always great to be on great day, as I like to say.
We're going to jump right in. We've been talking about the Farm Bill this morning. The 5-year bill is what sets a federal policy, national policy, when it comes to agriculture, food assistance, conservation, rural development. The House is expected to vote on the bill this week. It comes at a time that farm income is declining. More producers are depending on federal support. How does this farm bill specifically help farmers in the Central Valley stay financially viable in the long term?
Well, thank you, Liz. The fact is that people are hurting in farm country. We see bankruptcies that are up, and of course the impacts of this war in Iran are fueling prices literally and figuratively for diesel, for gas, for electricity, and the ripple effect is not only well exemplified in farm country, but also in our urban centers. People going to the grocery store every day see its impact, and the Farm Bill would provide support, a safety net in many instances by improving the crop insurance effort. Has always kind of favored the Midwest and row crops. We try to focus on specialty crops growing in our valley. Would focus on trying to improve our markets after the devastation that these tariff wars have caused in the last year by, in fact, improving the market access program. 44% of California's agriculture, the largest ag state in the nation, $61.5 billion last year, is exported. Therefore, our ability to export to Asia, to Europe, to other parts of the world is critical. And of course, the efforts in the Hormuz Straits to have a blockade is affecting shipping worldwide, and we see that related in the cost. So there are multiple factors. The Farm Bill is but one to try to help deal with some of the issues that American and California farmers and ranchers, dairymen and women are facing. But clearly we're past 2 years in reauthorization of the bill, and that's not good.
We're also talking about this bill. There's debate over SNAP and nutrition funding. How do you balance support for farming with the needs of working families here in the Valley who rely on that food assistance?
Well, you're quite right to point that out. That the safety net, the glue that has kept the Farm Bill together in the past, was coupling nutrition programs. In my case, almost 28% plus of my constituents are food insecure. And of course, nationwide, we have over 40 million people that are food insecure. The cuts that the Republicans made last year and the big, not so beautiful bill have really wreaked havoc in the San Joaquin Valley for people who are food insecure. And you can see just by the demand on food banks in our area that are trying to make up the difference. Nonetheless, I voted for legislation, an amendment yesterday that would have restored the SNAP cuts. Unfortunately, it was defeated. And so we're going to have to try to, in other fashions, try to provide support for people who are challenged at the dinner table every night. And by the way, food is a national security issue, and we need to treat it that way.
There's some parts of the bill that critics say could weaken pesticide and environmental protections. What safeguards are in place in order to protect farm workers, public health, as well as the long-term sustainability of ag regions like this?
Well, the preemption language in the bill, I think, is problematic. I believe if the bill does come up today, there's going to be a separate amendment to deal with the preemption of pesticides and herbicides and certain information that's provided in terms of their usage. The bottom line is we need to ensure that we protect our farm workers. They are an incredible part of our partnership with our farmers, ranchers, and dairy men and women. And by the way, you know, we all, I think, live and breathe the air in our valley, and we want to make sure that it's as safe as it possibly can be. So this hopefully will be worked out if the bill comes up later today.
We're going to shift gears now from policy to pageantry, if you will. Yesterday, we did see King Charles talk to Congress. Historic address. Again, the last monarch to have addressed Congress was his mother, Queen Elizabeth. What was your take on the King's speech yesterday?
I thought the king gave a very good speech, 35 minutes. It proves you don't need to speak an hour. But he reminded us of the special relationship for 250 years and beyond. I made reference to George Washington and his great-great-great-great-grandfather, King George, but that as much as things have changed, the commonality between the British and the U.S. remains strong. And he reminded us our role as a democracy to stand up together with NATO and our European allies. He talked about Ukraine and the importance of standing strong in face of Russian aggression by President Putin. And it was a subtle speech, but it was pointed. It reminded us that checks and balances that derive itself from the Magna Carta, my gosh, cited over 100 times, 167 times by the Supreme Court, is part of our foundation and our legacy in terms of the special relationship between ourselves and England. It was a good speech, I thought.
That reference to checks and balances, as we've been seeing a lot on social media, that specific section did get a lot of applause yesterday from, I'm assuming, you and other members of Congress as well.
Neat ovation, bipartisan.
Congressman Jim Costa, thank you as always for joining us here. Again, this is an open invite we have to all members of Congress who represent this area, our viewing area, which of course includes the North and the South Valley. Again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, always.